household names, but the fastest growing among them can wind up someday on the big board, the Toronto Stock Exchange. So to tell us about the top 50 growth stage companies on the TSX Venture in 2024 and for 2025 is Tim Babcock, president of the TSX Venture Exchange. Tim, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me,
Paul. This is an interesting list. Our viewers will be fascinated to see which companies have made this list. Talk to us, first of all, about how a company gets on this list. Of all the companies that trade on the Venture, and there are many, and they tend to be small,
yes.
How do they get on this top 50 list? What does it mean?
Yeah, so every year, this is our annual recognition program for the top 50 performers, and we put this list together with three equally rated criteria. One is being share price appreciation, one is being market cap growth, and the other being consolidated trading value. And so we put those together, and the top companies across the entirety of our venture market come out to the top 50.
Interesting. And how typical is it historically for companies that fit these criteria to ultimately graduate to the TSX?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you brought it up. We've actually we've showcased 685 different companies over the course of our 19 years publishing this list, and approximately a quarter of those have graduated to Toronto Stock Exchange. So it really goes to show that these companies go on to achieve growth year after year.
I understand that 31 of the top 50 are mining companies and stocks. Historically, the Venture has been a big venue for early stage mining companies, correct?
Yes, absolutely, and that's typical of the Canadian capital markets generally. Obviously, very resource driven, and that shows up on the venture market. So we're seeing mining companies that are exploring for critical minerals. We're seeing mining companies that are exploring for precious metals. And obviously, with the price of gold at or near all-time highs, that resonates with investors.
How easy or difficult is it for those mining companies to raise money right now? Typically, when metals prices are high, it's a bit easier to raise money.
Certainly, I think we've seen some challenges in the last couple of years in the capital markets, as you're well aware, and your viewers are well aware. But some of those stories do start to resonate, and over the course of the last year, over 80% of the mining companies on this list raise capital on our market.
Okay.
And so we are seeing pockets of activity there.
Sorry about that. Let's go back to that board that we showed viewers, and we'll show you the top 5 of the 50. I'm sure viewers can find all 50 on the TSX Venture Exchange website. Would that be correct?
Absolutely,
right.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at all 50, go to the TSX Venture Exchange website. There's the top 5 of the top 50. Let's try to talk about them. Kraken Robotics is number 1. Talk to us about Kraken.
Certainly, yeah. Kraken, very interesting. This is a Newfoundland-based company, and this is a marine technology company with operations globally. And they had a share price increase of over 300% last year.
Interesting. And Zedcor is number 2.
Zedcor, this is an Alberta-based security technology and services company, North American operations, again, growing rapidly.
And Zedcor, I'm just going to see if I can get my hands on the market cap. Market cap, $337 million. How does that, is that typical for a company on this list? What's a typical market cap for a top 50 venture exchange company?
Yeah, we see quite a range, and it could be, in the kind of high double-digit millions, but we could also see companies that are exceeding $1 billion in market cap. And it's really quite interesting when you look at the entirety of the group. This group ended the year at $21.7 billion in aggregate market cap, adding $16 billion over the course of 1 year. So tremendous growth across the entire board.
Interesting. Next is Sintana Energy. It's a producer of, looks like oil and gas, yes. Serving customers in North and South America. Market cap here about $275 million.
Yes, and they have their primary property is offshore Africa, and so another interesting company. And I think what all of these top 5 show us is the great diversity in terms of both sector and geography that these companies operate in.
Okay. Number 4, Power Nickel Company. That sounds like a nickel miner or a developer of nickel mines.
Yes, they are exploring in Quebec, and they have quite a history, and they've done some exceptional things last year, and they've actually raised money at the beginning of this year as well.
And at the bottom of the list is Montage Gold, which I'm going to assume is a gold explorer or early stage developer. There must be many of those on the venture, correct?
Yes, yeah. And Montage has its property in Africa, and they actually raised the most of all of the Venture 50 companies on our market last year.
So we saw a couple of miners on that list, as we thought we might from an earlier part of this conversation. What is the next most significant sector after mining?
Yeah, when we look at the next biggest cohort, it's the innovation companies, so including technology, clean tech, life sciences companies. And that group actually demonstrated some of the highest share price appreciation on the market last year. The clean tech companies on the list had an average share price growth of over 400% last year. So really some exceptional growth there. And
one interesting fact I'm seeing here is that of the 50, fully 46 companies are headquartered in Canada. That's a pretty good news story for Canadian innovation and growth. Absolutely, yeah. It's great to see these Canadian homegrown companies that are succeeding and doing well, but they're also competing globally. We have over 80% of the list actually have operations outside of Canada. So even though these companies are formed and are headquartered in Canada, they are exploring around the world. Tim, thanks a lot for this conversation. Thank you very much, Paul. Tim Babcock is president of the